Hello everyone, this is JackB1024 and welcome to episode 47 of our Dynamic Factory Let's Play series. So in the last episode we started getting our oil refinery station set up, and so in this episode we'll just finish this off and we'll look into the next steps for our base. So just move the car over there so it's out of the way. So we have our 10 refineries here. How am I going for pipes? I need a lot more pipes. Now, one of our issues with this station that I mentioned last episode is that all our other stations, let's turn off that and that, there we go. All our other stations only have one output. Well, this station needs to have three outputs because we need to have our heavy oil, our light oil, and our petroleum gas output. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to have three different output stations down the bottom here. Let's actually get some storage tanks. If I have 3, I think I want 12, 4 per station. So we have a similar sort of setup to this. Now I did mention last episode, I think it was last episode at least, that what we're going to want to do very soon is we're going to want to start counting how many resources are in our processing areas. So every time a resource, let's just go to a mine because it's easiest to show the mine. Every time a resource passes, say, this belt here, or the equivalent ones on each line, we add that resource into our counter for how many items are in our processing area. Every time a resource passes one of these belts here, we take it out because we count it as having been consumed. And then again, every time a resource passes, there's probably a belt, yeah, just here. This one here, we'll say. That's it back in our production area because, you know, something's been crafted with it. And the reason we want to do that is we want to do it for our production area for our oil processing. Because what we're going to have is we're going to have to deal with the fact that we're making heavy oil and light oil, and we'll want to convert some of it to solid fuel when we fill up on these two tanks, so that we can continually make our petroleum gas, which will be made into, you know, our sulfur and our sulfuric acid and those pipelines, and plastic as well as another use for petroleum gas. And obviously if we fill up on heavy oil or light oil, we stop making petroleum gas, and so we stop making sulfur and we stop making plastic. So to have that, we need to be able to have a method to calculate how much oil we have in our network, how much of those types of oils we have. And so it's just convenient to, at the same time, also count how many, of each resource. So we're talking, iron ore, iron plates, copper ore, copper plates, copper wires, our researchers, basically everything we need to know. I'm going to need way more pipes than what I've made so far. So, yeah, so for our oil refineries, I'm just doing a simple, 3 long for the first, 2 long for the second, 1 long for the third. And that way we can just easily use underground pipes to connect them all up together like this. Now, as for when we're going to make these circuits that will be able to count the number of resources we have, I'm thinking that might actually be the next project that we work on, and I'm going to need even more underground pipes too. Just get like another 100 of them. I think, yeah, our next project might actually be that. Working on that circuit. And the reason why I want to do that as our next project is, 1, we need it for our oil. And 2, once we do it, we're going to want to actually, how to put this? We want to get rid of all the resources that we currently have in our production bays, because that works best when, there's already nothing in any bay. And so we can actually count exactly how many resources we have in all our bays. So the sooner we get that done, the better, because the longer we wait, the more bays we're going to have. The more bays we have, the more bays we're going to need to empty out to actually get accurate counts. Let's go with another, 5 of them. Should just make a production area just to make pipes. In fact, have I already done that? I feel like it's something that I've thought of. Oh, I have pipes up here. Cool. we're going to go over and pick those up because that'll save on crafting time. Yeah, so the more bays we have, the longer it will take for us to flush out our whole system of everything it has so that we can actually start getting accurate numbers. Now, once we start getting the numbers of how many items we have in each bay, we can actually start doing some useful statistical stuff, like we can see, you know, what's the peak production that we have out of our iron ore mines. And while at the moment I'm pretty sure each iron ore mine can only support 2 furnace bays, you know, maybe they can support 2.5. And so with our 2 mines, we can actually support 5 instead of the 4 we currently have up here. And so let's actually raise that limit by a lot. Okay, I think that should be good for the moment. Yeah, so, you know, we can see that. And then once we have all our iron furnaces, you know, we can probably calculate how many iron furnaces we actually need to supply all our production areas. At least I think we might be able to do that. You know, it all depends on what circuits we design and what they're capable of. Hopefully we can do that. And that's kind of one of the first steps towards our completely dynamic factory, because when our factory is done, what we're going to want is we're going to want one that can calculate, you know, you're making this much iron ore, okay, so we need this many furnaces areas, but maybe, you know, we're only creating half as many iron gears as we actually need, so we need to just trying to do 2 things at once right now. I'm trying to figure out where to place these for my stations. I might actually place the stations first. So let's actually get that. I'll continue my thought once I've placed down a station. So I want to get this. We do not want that, that. Don't need combinators, don't need splitters, don't need transport belts, don't have inserters, don't need... Oh, actually, you kind of do need the smart signal, but that comes just with the train stop. I think that might actually be enough. Yeah, for a pickup location. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ghost out these 2 just so I know whereabouts I want them. And now if we use this, I could have possibly got rid of a bunch of these medium electric poles, actually. Let us put it... I'm trying to think how much room we actually need. We're going to have no electric poles there, so we actually probably don't need too much room. We probably can get away with something like that. And now I'll just use destruction blueprints to get rid of all the poles we don't actually need. I want to keep around these red, the big electric poles. Don't know if you got a circuit wire to you. Because they've got circuit wires to them, so they might actually indicate something that we need to think about. And I'll keep the ones we have on the left because they are our main line, and so they're actually useful to keep. You're not, though. So where was I? I was talking about... our circuit designing. I want to keep that one. Okay, cool. Well, actually, first I will get this blueprinted because without... Yeah, this blueprinted. And actually, let's include the radar in it. We're not actually going to be building anything. So we'll put one there. Put one there. And we'll want them over here as well. Actually, that's going to be close to where our pumps are. So let's go there. There. Might as well place it on all 3. It's not like having too many roboports is a disadvantage. And if I place one here, that will be able to connect up there. Okay, cool. So while the robots do that, we'll continue talking about our circuits. So let me see if I can remember exactly what thought I was in the middle of when I went and did all that. Can't remember the exact thought I was in the middle of, but let's go. So yeah, we want to be able to count how much stuff there is, and yeah, our brain is eventually going to figure out, which production bays we actually need, which products we need to make more of. What do we have too many things supplying? If we've got too many iron gear wheels being made, maybe we should get rid of some of those production bays and change them into, copper wire bays. And, that's the end goal of this whole thing, is to have all of these bays be controlled by a central brain. So I think by us starting now to actually count how many items we have in all our production bays, we can actually get started on that earlier, and that'll make it easier when we get to that. We also want to make a circuit that I've drawn up in a scrapbook that I have here, showing how I believe we can actually count how much oil we have coming in and out of our system. And so that'll need to be connected to all fluid spots. Similar to, how we have, or will have, I should say, circuits connected to these transport belts here. We'll need to have them connected to our own fluid input and output, and when they enter a station, it's assumed to be consumed, and when they go to a destination area, then that's added to our potential stockpile of resources. So let's think what we will do now while we wait for our robots to work. I think we will just skip ahead to when they're done. So see you soon. So I thought while we wait for the robots to finish constructing all this, which they're still on their way to doing, the biggest bottleneck being the production of our red circuits, which are used to make our roboports, which we need to actually extend our construction coverage range to cover this whole area. Thought what I would do, I got my book here that I wrote down the circuit that I believe will work for us counting how much oil there is. Then we'll come up here to this water here. We'll grab a bit of water. We don't need too much. So what I think we'll do is we'll get one tank full of water. We'll get the whole 25k. And then we'll use this tank of water and we'll draw out the circuit here that we're going to use. Now, I might actually just put up, a screenshot with some text saying what the plan of the 6 different states we have for this circuit. This is what I've drawn out. Probably just get a picture from further in the video where we've actually constructed it, just kind of showing the layout that we're going to make. But okay, it looks like that's basically us done. We have our tank full of water. It's got about 25k, which is what we want. So the first thing we need to do is we need to have 2 different accepting lines. And we need them both connected to their own pump. We need a pump coming out of both lines, and we'll need this all connected to a single circuit network. Will one circuit network work fine? I want the pumps on in these states. Yeah, we'll connect it all to one circuit network. I can work with that. Okay, so slightly too far away. Okay, so the basic idea is that we will put water from our input into one of these 2 tanks. As the water's going into the tank, we count up how much water is getting added to it, and that's our counter for items coming either into or out of the network, depending on if this is on an input or output side. Then either once that tank is full or after a certain period of time, we will turn the output pump for that tank on, which will go and send it to our main tank area, which actually will supply our trains or supply our factories, depending on if it's an input or output again. And then at that point in time, we actually turn on the other pump so that water now goes into the other tank to count how much there is. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need to know every tick how much more water is getting added to this tank. That's an easy enough circuit to do. We can just, if we just do this, let me think if this will work exactly fine. We want the amount we already had as a negative number, and we want the amount we have now as a positive. So what we do is we'll connect the red to the tank and to both of these. This one I'll just add them together, and we will connect the output of the negator to the input of the buffer. So the buffer on its red line is getting the current tank input, and on the green line it's getting 1 tick ago's tank's input. And the negator is getting the current tank input and waits 1 tick because all combinators take 1 tick to pass it to the output. So this tells us how much extra liquid is going into that tank. And so if we connect this up to a simple, actually I'll use a decider combinator for this, and I will stand in the way because why not? Okay, so this decider combinator, if red is 0, it will output everything that it's inputting. We will also connect your red output to input, so you're now a memory cell. And so this will count up until I set this on with the red signal of 1. So if we connect up, just want to think how I'll connect this also. It's all ready. That'll do. So this pump's not on yet, but that's because we don't have any condition to turn it on yet. We'll turn this one on if the 0 signal is greater than 0. Let's just connect all of these up. Actually, have I got some good numbers for when to turn these on? You're turned on in either of those states. Okay, there's actually multiple states. So we'll just set this to 0, 1, 2, and 3 for the moment. So when I turn 0 on, this pump will start filling up this tank, which means that this will count how much is in this tank. So I need to set U to 0, the value of 1, turn it on, turn it off now. We can see this has about 2,300. If we look at this, we can see this also has a value of about 2,300. There is one thing I just forgot that I missed. We actually need this output to go into a decider combinator, which is set to only let values greater than 0 through. The issue being, let's just connect the outputs up so we can, connect you that way, do that, and we will actually connect this one back into our source tank so that our water can just, let's put a pump on that one. So there we go. Put in this. That looks good. Okay, cool. So now if we empty this out, which is signal 2, so that's going to empty this all out. It's gone back to this tank over here. We lost a bit when I broke a few connectors, but otherwise... why aren't you pushing it all through? Do you not do that? Okay, you don't. I would hope that you did. Well, we can see this still has a value of 2,300. And the reason it still has a value of 2,300 is that this only counts liquids going into this, not liquids going out. So now if we set this back to 0, more liquid will be going in, no liquid will be going out because this pump is disabled. And if we turn it off, it should be another 9,100, which would make it 11,400, and we can only see about 11,000 out of that. I could make a simple connection to here, put in a constant combinator. We can get rid of 11,000 water, and we'll see that it's 477. So that's how much water has passed through this tank in total so far. Again, if we set this to 2, it'll all pump out, but this number here won't change because this is saying, there's about 24 units of water leaving that tank every tick. So that's how we can count water going into just one tank. And so the next thing would be, Let's see if I can do up this nicely. Okay, let's actually make our state machine. So our state machine will be a simple clock circuit. So if we connect that to there, let's just use the red signal as our clock signal. So as long as red is below. Now, I want 10 seconds, I think I will go for each state. Then we will output the red. So this should now, I didn't click set. That's one too many zeros. So this should basically count up every 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds it will output a red signal of 0, which is fine. The next thing we want to do is we want to detect when that red signal is 0. So when red is 0, we'll output it as a 1, and I will connect that to a light. And we can see this light therefore flash whenever there's a red of 0, which is every 10 seconds. There we go, it just flashed. I was thinking for a moment, oh no, it's not working, but no, it's fine. So, the next thing we want to do is we want to connect that to a second clock. This clock will store the current state. We'll connect it via green because the red's connected to that one. But this time, instead of going to 600, we only need to go to 6, I believe. State 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this will tell us which state we're in, either state 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And after state 5, it will wrap back to state 0. Now, during certain states, we want certain pumps to be on. During state 0 and 5, we want the input to one of our tanks to be on. And during state 2 and 3, we want the input to our other pump to be on. I believe that looks correct. So what we will do, when our output's on, why did I not? Give me a sec while I look at this. Okay, so during state 1, we want, actually during state 0, we want one input and the opposite output to be on, and during state 3, we want the alternate input and output to be on. So that should be easy enough to do. What we will do is we will have two decider combinators. This one checks if our state is equal to 0, so we'll output a 0, and this one will check if our state is equal to 3, and if so, it will output a 1. This checks if 0 is greater than 0, so we'll copy that to this one. This one checks if 1 is greater than 0, so we'll copy that to this one. We should now be able to connect the red lines there and connect them up. And what this should do is it's about to hit state 3. When it does, this input pump turns on, this output pump turns on. Then in 10 seconds, it will be on state 4 where they're both off, state 5 where they're both off, and state 6 where these two are both on. Now the purposes of state 1, 2, 4, and 5 are actually to basically set everything up ready for the next time we turn to either state 0 or 3, which are our two filling states. This clock is a super simple clock at the moment. It's not the one we'll end up going with, because we actually are going to have a different amount of time depending on which state we're in. But there we go, we're in the state where we're filling up this pump, this tank, and we're emptying this tank. So as you can see, this is counting up now. So if red is 0, output input count, that's good. That means what we're going to do is we're going to actually use that right now. We're going to get our new state machine. So this one fills up during state 0. So we want to clear it during state 2 is when I thought would be a good time to clear it. So during state 2, it sets out a red signal of 1, and that goes into this input. Yes, which should clear that. I'll connect it via the green line. So what state are we in? We're in state 5. Okay. Let us blueprint this. So we're going to want the same circuit over this side. This way I don't have to copy it all across again. I can just do that. And we're going to want another one of these. This time it is state 5 that we want you to clear on. And we can connect. Hopefully that's not too far away. It is. Connected that way. Oh, I should have connected that on green actually. So I'll go and I'll undo that and I'll put it on green. That way you can connect to that input. And we need to connect the red to this tank. So what state are we in? Oh, okay, we're in state 0, I believe that is. Yes. So this tank's filling up. This is counting how much is going in. And this tank here is emptying. Now, there we go. We're now in the state where basically this should be off, but if any extra is going in, that's fine. We don't really care about that, but it's a buffer between the two states, really. Then I think we just hit state 2, which should have reset this, and it has. Then the next one is state 3, where we are now filling up this tank, emptying out this tank, and counting how much is going in up here. So there we go. Now that we know how much has gone in there, we can clear this one, which will be the next state, I believe. And there we go, it's cleared. Okay, so while our construction bots are coming over with the last few things and they're connecting up the train line here, I thought we would just connect in all the plumbing for our refinery area over here. So we need to have our pumps going into these two here. Is that the same one? Yeah, should be close enough. So there and there, there and there, there's our 3 outputs. We will connect each of these to a... Actually, if I move this one, if I move this one actually, what I can do is I can connect them with an underground and that'll have it looking nicer. And I need another 4 of those. Just realized. So we connect these with underground pipes. Now this will have on this red line here which wagon we need to fill up. We're using the 0 and 1 signal, so let's just connect these in. And so if 0 is greater than nothing, you're on. If 1 is greater than nothing, you're on. And we'll just connect all 3 of these up like that. Yep, yep. And now the last one. There. You're correct, and these should still be correct. Yep, that's all good. Okay, so the next step is we want to, given we know this setup works for us to be able to count how much liquid is being added to our network, and any liquid going into these tanks is getting added to our network, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's just put this one here and here. We don't want to actually connect these 2 tanks together, so I'm actually going to flip that one around so that there's no way I can actually connect them together. Pump there, pump there and there. Oh, I can connect them both, that's nice. Now, for the moment I'm not actually going to connect up that whole circuit, we're just going to connect them like this. The plan will be, once we actually get our main line set up to actually be able to count how much liquid's going in and out and all that, that's when I will connect these up and have them all running properly. For the moment we'll just have it, you know, pump out into this and then pump into these 2, ready to be added to a train. So the next ones we're going to want those 2. So again, we'll just get our pump set up, connect our medium electric poles and our underground pipes. So there we go, I just connected the light fuel and the petroleum gas up to our second and our third station down here. Decided to do that without showing you because, you know, it's the same stuff again and again, so it's not really that important. Now, one thing we do have to keep note of is that we have a biter's nest just over here. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that's 5 nests there. So I've actually laid down some defense here, hoping that this is good enough for the small attacks that we will get from there. But once this refinery is actually online, this is going to be spewing out a lot of pollution. So I'm going to have to deal with that nest sooner rather than later. But the next thing we actually need to do is we need to connect these poles, these two, and these two into our circuits up here. Oh, this is... Where's my, is that in the car? There we go. We'll just make another one. I do not need any of these trees. I mean, it's probably not the best thing to do when there's a nest right there. Get rid of some pollution destroying trees, but we don't need them. So we have... You want the green. The red goes to there. That's this red here. Where does the green go? I should quickly check that. I don't think the green is needed. It comes from here, which comes from here. Okay, no, the green is needed. Okay, so we need to connect. Yep. This should have another one. Okay, cool. So you connect to both. So these two are actually connected to each other. Yes. That's nice to know. So we need to connect our single red line to this one. We need to connect our green lines to these two, and our single red to that, our green to those two, and same with that for our 3 stations. Which means I'm going to need 6 big electric poles. And here I'll probably want to have 4. And here I will want 2. So the red connects to the left, and this red connects to the right, and the green connects to the right. Let's just run this up to here. We'll run the red lines up. And now we need to connect that red to the left, and both the red and the green to the right. Okay, so with that done, we can now connect you up to here, you to there. I'll just connect the reds first. This red to the left one, and this to this one. Now the greens, only every second one has a green connection, so that is a little bit easier to do. So, we'll put... Can I get... I just need the other 4. I'm hoping I can connect straight from this one to this one. Yes, I can. So that's our left 2 in, which means we've just got the next 4. I wonder if they'll actually reach up to here. If they do, that is convenient. They do. Okay, so we'll put our next 4 big electric poles here. Connect all the reds together. Well, not all together, but move the red line up, I should say. Connecting them together would cause some fairly annoying bugs if we left it like that. Of course, for the moment, nothing's... Oh, thank you. Nothing's actually connected, so it doesn't matter, but that won't always be the case. Now, normally red connects to this one. I don't know if that will reach. No, that will not. So let us connect it up to here. So there's those 4 connected. Connect the red to there and then across. And we want to connect this green up to there because it needs to get connected to there anyway. connect the red and green. Then we'll connect the red down and we'll connect the green up. Connect you two on the green and move the red up. Okay, now we just need to move the last two lines up to here. So here and here. The red connects to there and then down. This red connects to here and then up to here. And we connect this green to here and then down. And that should be that part of our lines connected. So we still have a fair few things to connect. But I think I'll do all those between the episodes because they're not super critical to see what we need to do. We just need to make another 2 banks of these 3 combinators and set them up. We need to connect our first, second, third, and fourth line all up together up here, connecting these into our second line, which they're in line with. We need to connect the third and the fourth bank here to the inputs here and the inputs here. And what else? Oh, we need to connect this line here down with this line here so that that bank is in, and then we need to connect these 4 lines to, well, at least the first 2 really, to these 2 lines here. Though we will want all 4 connected very soon because we're going to be actually using almost all of them. Because we'll need to use 1 to count resources coming in, 1 to count resources going out, and then I think the next thing we'll probably want is a reset signal, so that'll have to be on 1 line, and we'll probably want a total count of the resources in our system so that our stations that only run when there's an excess of resources know to run. So actually that's all 4 signal lines used up. But that will not be this episode, that will be in the coming few episodes. So until then, this is JackB1024 signing off. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.